Let me take you through some of the most interesting Switch releases I've experienced this year. Each of these games caught my attention for different reasons, and I've spent enough time with them to share what makes them worth checking out. Eiyuden. Chronicle. 100 Heroes carries the spirit of classic JRPGs while bringing fresh ideas to the table. The game puts you in charge of building and managing an army, with a headquarters that grows alongside your forces. What grabbed me was discovering how each of the 100 heroes connects to the larger story, like finding out the quiet merchant in my army had a secret past as a legendary warrior. The combat system adds depth to traditional turn-based battles by introducing elevation. Placing an archer on high ground or a shield bearer in a narrow passage can completely change your strategy. I spent hours experimenting with different team combinations, finding out how characters from different backgrounds worked together. Grime takes the Metroidvania formula into strange new territory. Your character absorbs defeated enemies to grow stronger, but it's the way this mechanic ties into both combat and exploration that makes it unique. I remember the first time I absorbed a stone giant's arm. Suddenly, I could break through walls that had been teasing me for hours. The world design plays with gravity and perspective in ways that kept surprising me, even deep into the game. Some areas require you to think about space differently, like chambers where the ceiling becomes the floor, and your absorbed abilities are the only way to navigate these twisted environments. Neva strips away conventional gaming complexity to focus on pure movement and atmosphere. The minimalist art style isn't just for show, it helps you focus on the flow of motion as you chain together jumps and dashes. What starts as simple platforming evolves into this meditation on momentum and precision. The story unfolds without words, told through the way you move through the environment and interact with the world around you. I found myself getting into this state of flow where everything else fell away, just focused on the rhythm of movement. The Plucky Squire jumps between 2D and 3D in ways that constantly surprised me. One moment you're moving through the pages of a storybook, the next you're exploring the real world beyond the book's pages. Each transition feels purposeful, adding new layers to both the gameplay and story. The way it plays with this concept creates these clever puzzles where you need to think about how actions in one dimension affect the other. Finding hidden paths by literally jumping out of the book's pages never stopped feeling magical. Monster Hunter Stories takes the creature collecting aspect of Monster Hunter and adds more depth to the relationship between riders and monsters. The turn-based combat uses a rock-paper-scissors system that's easy to understand but has layers of strategy, especially when facing new monsters and trying to predict their patterns. I spent hours experimenting with the gene system, creating unique monster combinations. Sometimes, the most unlikely combinations turned out to be the most effective, like combining genes from a fire-breathing monster with ice abilities to create unexpected advantages. Before we continue, how are you enjoying the list so far? Any games catching your eye? I'd love to hear your thoughts, so feel free to drop a comment below. Your feedback means a lot and helps me bring you the content you love. Now, let's dive back into the list. Mario vs. Donkey Kong brings back the puzzle platformer series with new twists on familiar mechanics. Each level feels like a tiny puzzle box where timing and planning matter more than quick reflexes. What seems simple at first becomes increasingly complex as new mechanics are introduced. I found myself spending more time planning my moves than actually executing them, especially in later levels where one wrong step can unravel an entire solution. The game rewards creativity, often finding that there are multiple ways to reach the goal, some more elegant than others. The garden path takes a different approach to the life sim genre. Time passes naturally, reflecting real-world seasons, and your garden grows even when you're not playing. What fascinated me was how each plant and creature you encounter has its own patterns and behaviors that feel natural rather than programmed. Building relationships with wandering travelers who visit your garden adds an element of unpredictability. Each brings their own stories and possible trades that can change how your garden develops. Ys 10 Nordics embraces change while keeping what makes the series special. The new partner cross system transformed how I approached combat. Switching between characters mid-battle creates these flowing attack chains that feel natural once you get the rhythm down. Naval exploration adds another dimension to the adventure with sea battles and hidden islands to discover. The game maintains that signature sense of speed while adding these new layers of strategy that make you think more about positioning and timing. Selfloss builds its world through atmosphere and environmental storytelling. Based on Nordic folklore, the game drops you into a world where every detail hints at a larger story. The puzzle platforming mechanics tie directly into the narrative. Each challenge you overcome reveals more about the world and its history. What stuck with me was how the game uses sound and silence to create tension and guide you through its mysterious landscape. Sometimes the absence of sound told me more than any dialogue could. Crypt Custodian puts an interesting spin on dungeon exploration by casting you as the person responsible for maintaining these adventure-filled spaces. Instead of being the hero clearing out monsters, you're managing the ecosystem of the dungeon, ensuring it remains challenging but not impossible for adventurers. I found myself thinking about balance in a whole new way. Too many tough monsters might discourage adventurers but make it too easy, and the dungeon loses its mystique. The management aspects blend surprisingly well with light combat elements when you need to deal with unruly denizens or overambitious adventurers. And that wraps up our list. Thanks for sticking around till the end. I hope you found some games that piqued your interest. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing for more content. Let me know in the comments which titles you're excited about. Until next time,